all sim racing journeys start somewhere, and for me it starts right here in this video. Hey everyone, my name is Bradley, and in 2024 I got back involved with the world of sim racing with my first ever PC sim racing build. It's been over 10 years since I touched any sort of sim rig, so it was really exciting to get involved, and I thought I'd share the entire experience of it here on YouTube. So in this video, I'm going to share with you my license run for low fuel motorsport and my first 2 rookie races in Assetto Corsa Competizione. As you can imagine, it was full of all the drama you can expect to find in rookie class, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on how I did in the comments. So let's dive straight into that license run and start talking a bit more about my journey till now. Right, let's throw in our little setup we've been working on here and jump straight out onto track. Now we're going to get the tyres all warmed up, make sure there's some space to the cars in front of us, and get cracking with our first flying lap. And as we jump into this first flying lap, I'm going to take a short moment to explain LFM a little bit more. LFM, or Low Fuel Motorsport, is a community-based group that run races on ACC. And the idea is that you can be organised into races either based on your driver rating, known as ELO, or your safety rating, and therefore you're having more fun with drivers of a similar ability. But to be able to first join these races, you need your LFM license. And the idea of the license is not to prove that you're crazy fast, but that you're more smooth and consistent. And it basically proves that you've got a handle on the game and that you're not going to be messing up every single lap around other races and ruining those races for other people. So for LFM Season 15, we are here at the Hangaro Ring, and the aim is to complete 7 valid laps consistently under 107% of the very best LFM players' lap time. So a lap time of 142.2 for the very top guys makes the 107% a 149.2. And the Hangaro Ring is an intentional decision from LFM because it's one of the less popular tracks and it's rather technical. Now, the fact that in an LFM season you'll be racing on most of the circuits in the game, again, it's just a way to prove to LFM that you can take the time to learn a less known circuit, yet still show a level of consistency and a level of speed. Now for me, I've certainly been taking this test seriously, and I have been doing quite a bit of practice on this track to learn it and be consistent and show some good speed. So a few nerves on this first lap, and I come across for a 147.032. It's not all smooth sailing though, as we have a bit of a moment coming into the end of lap 2, outbraking myself into turn 12, being put off a little bit by the car going off on that turn, and we come around there for a 147.1 on that second lap. The next lap, a 146.0, and then a 145.78. Again, another 146 flat, so we're really finding my groove now on this license run. At this point on lap 6, I was starting to catch another car, and I also realised the marker on the turn 4 blind apex had been knocked out, so I was having to learn a bit on the fly how to deal with things like this. A repeated 145.7 on lap 6 and a 146 flat on lap 7 He completes the license run for me, but there's definitely a little bit more time in me. With fuel and space, I decided to push on, and then on lap 8 I do get nearer to the McLaren ahead, but out of turn 10 he pulls off and we get a clean shot and finish off there that lap with a 145.9. So at this rate, the license is certainly finished, but I'm having a bit too much fun. So we keep on going with a 145.48, and not being on the way of anyone, I decided to push on to what would be the quickest lap I have done so far at Hangaro Ring. Now I am pretty proud of this lap, so I'm actually going to show you the lap, and it's sort of showing some of the progression I've made in the game till now. Coming out of turn 1, turn 2, pushing it down here, getting it down into first gear, trying to get the car rotated on the throttle, up to second, up to third, full throttle, get across to that inside apex, run it out wide, feeling happy with the lap so far. Turn 4 here is a really tricky one. You sort of got to throw it in and hope for the best. It's getting quite confident there, so it's pretty happy. Down to second, look for that outside apex. Push hard, get on the throttle. Coming into the chicane here, get it over this curb and get it right over that second curb. It handles that one pretty well. Turn it nice and early to get the apex here. Again, looking for a middle to late apex of the corner. Flat third, get up into fourth, and then really got to trail brake nicely. Try and miss that apex a little bit there, but nicely over that exit curb. Push hard, get hard on the brakes down to first gear. This is turn 12. Up and over that curb, out the other side. And then these last two corners is where I make up most of my time, getting them right. First gear, get the car rotated. Quite a tricky set of corners to get right consistently. Down to second, nice and patient, full throttle, out we come the other side, bit of a wobble, we hold on to that, and a 1:45.192. However, because it's outside that first 7, it does not recognise as part of my license run, which is a bit of a shame, so I end up finishing with an average time of a 1:46.287, and it comfortably puts me inside the 107% range with actually 104% of the best times, and with that I gain my LFM rookie license. With the license test now complete, it was time to jump straight into my very first rookie class race at the Red Bull Ring. With the learner plates on, I set out for qualifying. Now, I have done some practice earlier in the week at Red Bull Ring here, but having never driven this track in any other game prior, I was not super confident. I also noticed on my outlap that I had not lowered the fuel load in my setup. But nonetheless, we warmed the tyres up and we cracked on with the lap. Of course, it is rookie class and split 6. So I was greeted with this scene out of turn 1, which filled me with all sorts of concern for the coming race. And we get it together through the rest of the lap here, and we start our proceedings with a 1:30.482 second lap. However, we immediately bottle it in turn 1 on the next lap. And the decision was made to have a quick reset, get back to the pits and remove the fuel that I'd forgotten to remove at the very start. Quickly back out on track, observing some blue flags for the blue Ferrari on their flying lap. Before being handed that position back at turn 4, that blue Ferrari having a bit of a moment coming out there. On the next lap, coming into turn 4, we actually have our own moment trying to get on the power here, losing all of the time gained, and coming through this final turn, unfortunately, no real improvements on that lap from the 30.4 I had set earlier. Still 4.5 minutes to go, and on the next flying lap, coming down to turn 4, I'm actually now showing 6 tenths up, really starting to get it together on this flying lap. Sticking with the rest of the lap here, coming into this now off-camber section, still really trying to work this corner out. It's a really tricky one, a lot of trail braking required, and getting to the apex is quite tricky. Still showing 6 tenths up, coming good here, getting up 7 tenths up now, and you can see there on the delta a 1:29.75. But we throw it away here, came in too hot, invalid lap, and that one's certainly going to come back to bite us later in this session. And now the last lap of qualifying, throwing it in, not as good on this one. We're going to see a very tiny improvement, a 1:30.427, P7 through that qualifying session. So happy and not happy, and definitely taking a breather now. Look at that, P7, And unfortunately that 29.7 would have put us into the top 3, I feel. And now the nerves are really starting to dive in here. Everyone talks about turn 1 in these rookie class races, and I was certainly nervous. P7 is not the absolute front, and maybe it would have been safer to start completely off the back. But I wanted to put my best foot forward here, and just wanted to see what was possible. Either way, we come into a start procedure, warming up the brakes, obviously just the short start for these sprint races, and simply hoping we get through turn 1 unscathed, so that we can really push on and see what we can do in the race. And green, we are away. I immediately recognised the Ford that should be next to me wasn't there, so I move over to try and cover, but not really enough, and sure enough, the Ford comes flying in, and we get completely sandwiched in the thick of it, collected on all corners, but somehow we are out the other side, still pointing straight. I'm surprised and unsurprised all at the same time. And we get ourselves up to turn 3 on the brakes. The car feels okay. So we're pushing on. Let's see what we can do here. A little bit of gap in front, a little gap behind. Taking a big deep breath there. And we are away. And we're going to stay on board for the first few laps here because they're certainly eventful. Completely missing my brake marker here on cold tyres. And the cold tyre thing is something I'm really going to have to work out quickly in these races, because it was a bit of a trend of the first lap of a bit of sliding here, a bit of missed apexes. You need to dial it back, and it's hard straight after qualifying to then re-engage the brain for a cold tyre setup and a race setup. But it's nice to not have any more pressure as we come down now into these final turns. Just trying to get now into a groove. Not too bad out of the final corner. And there we are, our first ever flying race lap in LFM. Nice to still be straight. Still nice to be in the race. Turn 1, again, missing that brake marker on cold tyres. But finding a little bit of pace and getting in up near the back here of this McLaren. Nicely into turn 3. A little bit of skirmishing in front. McLaren runs wide. Gives us a little bit of a run. The Ford's coming up behind us here a little as well, so I have to watch that. Back down to turn 4 again. On the brakes again, I missed my braking marker. But we're still close. I'm just starting to think about being patient and seeing what unfolds in front of us. And sure enough, the BMW, he continues to turn left into the infield. We gain a place there. Ford's now out of pace. He's the yellow McLaren on the outside, and they both slide out. And I find myself pointing down the inside of the corner and taking 4th position, 3 places in 2 corners. Coming down this final corner as I hit my apex. Last corner here, good exit. And all of a sudden, I'm now behind this Ford, in 4th place, starting to think about a podium place in my first ever LFM race. Missed my braking marker a bit here. The McLaren behind, he misses it more, so he loses traction out of that last corner, and now I definitely am just eyes forward, looking at this Ford, thinking about this podium. And yes, it is only split 6. I need to keep reminding myself that, but it's so nice actually to just be in the race and not have been completely cleaned out in turn 1 and still be racing. It's awesome. However, it's at this moment that I realise that I have made one of the all-time rookie mistakes. I'm sure many of you have done this. I have forgotten to put fuel into this car after qualifying. So after taking it out to go fast in quali, completely forgot to put it back in, and I now find myself in P4 chasing P3 with 20 minutes left of this race with about 2 flying laps worth of fuel in the car. It's truly unbelievable, and I really can't believe that I've done this to myself having survived all of turn 1. Nonetheless, we are going to complete these 2 laps and simply see what we can achieve in that time. I'm simply having too much fun at the front here, and I didn't want to throw it away, so certainly the quick calculation, I should have 2 more laps left. Let's see what we can achieve. Getting turn 1 a lot better here, still putting that pressure on, half a second back. It's not super close, but it's close for me. I'm still shaking my head, but I still can't believe that I've done what I've done here with the fuel. Getting up here into turn 3 again, and getting right onto the back of this Ford now. Now in theory, of course I should be fast, because there is no fuel in this car, and I haven't quite worked out how much speed difference it's making, but it's certainly making this battle here quite fun. And the pressure on the Ford there, he does run wide, and that opens the door, and we absolutely go through into P3. Again, it's a bit of a bittersweet moment, because this is the first time I've ever been in a podium position in an LFM race in my first race. I was pretty happy with it. However, because of the fueling situation, it's all going to end pretty soon. You can even see here on the Delta a 29.4 coming up. So quicker than I was in qualifying. This would have put me near pole position in qualifying. So I've certainly found a groove pretty quickly in this race, which is awesome. Chuck it in this last corner. And we push on. One more lap of fuel left. And of course, all good things are certainly going to come to an end with this low fuel situation. We have the low fuel warning come up on the dash, and sure enough, at the end of that lap, we have to dive now into the pit lane to perform my first ever low fuel motorsport pit stop in a race where I'm not supposed to. So we get it on down here. Pit lane limiter is on automatics, that's nice and easy. And you'll see here, I scramble. I've never done a pit stop before in any of the ACC racing that I've done, even the AI racing, etc. I'm not really sure what's going on. I've reached for the keyboard, I can't use it. I'm using the wheel now, chucking a bunch of fuel in the car. You can see the tyre change is still picked. The body damage is going to get fixed, which probably didn't need to happen. There's 11 seconds worth of fuel there. Either way, we've made it in. Fuel's going into the car. Taking another moment to simply mourn my terrible pit strategy here. Lots and lots of learnings now. So we take a breath, we're all done, we're all fueled up, there's new tyres on the car, body damage is now fixed, and it's just a reset to try and see what I can salvage from this race. We get out of the pit lane here, and the first thing that I notice is that we're still on the lead lap, but the leader is about 9.2 seconds behind us. As you see as we come up to turn 3 here, 9.2 seconds behind us, and that becomes our new goal. Can we stay on the lead lap for the final 15 minutes of this race? And it starts off pretty well. We come round, we're still showing 9.2 seconds up on the leader, but it's actually at this moment that I've recognised the second rookie mistake of this race, and obviously heading out on turn 1 there. But it's my tyre pressures. Because I wasn't planning a pit stop, I have not set the incoming tyre pressures to be the same as the original set on the car. So as you can see, after a couple of flying laps here, I'm still down in the mid 25 PSI range, which is obviously well below optimal. Optimal being 26 to 27, preferably about 26.7, something like that. So we're now low tyre pressures. The car definitely feels low on grip, sliding it in a little bit, and I'm just having to readjust and sort of find a new groove. This is definitely not an optimal setup for me. However, 8.5 minutes to go, we can see that we're still 9 seconds up on the leader, and we're coming through here to complete about 129.79 second lap, which is again what I was predicting to do in qualifying. So we're still finding some speed, finding a groove. It's just hot lapping now. There's no chance of catching any of the cars in front. 5 minutes to go here. We're still showing 8.5 seconds up. So it's certainly working at this time. Come through now, another 1 minute 30 point flat, 10 seconds up on the leader. I make this mistake here. This is 2 laps to go for me. We lose about a second, which is probably the biggest single loss I made in this 15-minute period. So the consistency was pretty good. That's a minor mistake, I feel, for a rookie. So the consistency was really good for the rest of the stint. So coming into our last lap, the leader about to finish, we find ourselves 9.5 seconds up on the leader. So it's mission success. We've certainly lost no time to the leader during that 15-minute stint. And it's obviously, again, a bitter pill to swallow because the performance was actually really good. The consistency was there, and it really was a disappointing moment with the fuel issue. A podium or even a second, or maybe even the win was on the cards here. But certainly an eventful first rookie race. So sadly, after surviving turn 1, it was my own mistake that cost me in my first LFM race. While quite content with the pace against other drivers, it was certainly a bitter pill to swallow, making that fueling mistake. So what better way to rectify it than jumping straight into another one and see if we can't do things a little bit better. And in the hunt for doing things better, it certainly didn't start out well. After going out and trying to start my first flying lap, I realized I had disconnected from the race. Scrambling to work out why, I then realized that it was my own internet that had caused the problem. So, scramble, reset the computer, jump back into the race. Fortunately, I made it, but starting from dead last. Hopefully a clean turn 1, but I certainly have a lot of work to make up. Now I was going to take it easy, but immediately found space between the back 2 cars I was following. We throw it in here in turn 1, nice and hard on the inside, no one coming up from behind. A spin on the inside there, and I have made it through cleanly. Tick number 1. Now coming up through turn 2, up into turn 3. Board's still resetting here, so I've no idea what position I'm in. But I have this Mercedes come up inside the yellow submarine Ford on the outside, and believe it or not, there's actually 0 contact through there, 3 wide through turn 3. I was pretty fortunate. We're coming down to turn 4 here. I'm still in a bit of a survival mode, showing P14, so it's a good start from 22nd on the grid. Coming down to turn 4, nice and easy. I'm learning the cold tyre situation here, and I am being very cautious. I do get a run on the outside of yellow submarine Ford. And we throw it in here, and he just completely misses brake marker, cleans me out a little bit. Bit of a bump. The Porsche now gets up the inside as well, and the Mercedes, so I'll lose 2 positions there. There's still a whole bunch of scrambling up in front. Mercedes, he gets loose on the exit there, so we get back past him. So in a very eventful first lap here. Missed my braking marker on this turn, coming into the final turn, hoping for a clean exit, which we get, and now we're right in the back here, in P15, behind this Porsche. Very eventful lap 1. We're going to have a go up the inside here. I don't quite get it right. I've never tried to pass someone up the inside there. I come across, now in hindsight, I didn't go off the track that badly, and I was feeling a little guilty for running wide on the turn and missing the turn, so I kind of back off to let him pass. He actually takes a bit of a bump here from the Mercedes and very nearly takes us all out. I'm trying just to be very gentlemanly about it, as you could say. A whole lot of contact and scrambling here, get a little bit of a rear touch, but there's a spin from the yellow submarine up in front. Cars everywhere, we kind of get through there pretty clean. Our yellow Ford friend, he's going to take it down the inside here. I try to cut back, but the Mercedes behind, he's trying to get in a little bit there. Finding himself now on the outside. Unfortunately, cooler heads prevail. I turn in nice and early. He slots in behind, so not too bad. So A little bit of bump and run everywhere, but everyone's coming out okay, so I'm pretty happy with it so far. And after lap 2, I find myself in exactly the same position I was before. P15, the Porsche in front, a little bit of shuffling around us, but we're still in the same fight. A massive moment for that McLaren in front there. So we gain a position there, P14. Half thought about another move there, decided would slot in. But everyone gets a bit of a bad run out here, so I get up the inside. A little bit of run here, got a little enough of an overlap. We're going to push this down here, up into turn 2, turn 3. The Ferrari's having a think behind as well. We catch our brake marker there, and this is a nice clean one. Pretty happy with that. My first clean overtake in LFM rather than everyone just falling off around me. He's still trying to get up on the outside there. Give him a little bit of space. But no chance. We hit our braking markets here. Get to the apex, no problem. Clean move. We're up into P13. Right, back down the hill here. The yellow submarine having a little look up the inside of this McLaren. He gets a bad run out of that corner. Coming up behind, I'm not confident to throw it up the inside down to the final corner here. However, the Ford runs nice and wide. Opens the door up. I'm really worried with the rejoin there, so I cut in a little bit shallow and I don't get the best run off this turn. A little moment of behind there with the Ferrari you just caught a glimpse of. But here we are, the Ford's trying to come back on me. I probably clumsily move over a little bit. He takes a tiny bit of rear contact. I move back to the racing line and he completely overcooks the turn. So here we are, moving back into P12. And yeah, you can see there's definitely a lot of nerves going on. It's a lot of looking around, it's a lot happening in this race. We're only about 4 laps in at this stage. So a lot has happened in that time. Getting up to turn 3. Power on, and this is where things settle down a little bit. We're a few laps on now. I've got the McLaren in front, the Ford's still behind, just trying to play catch up a little bit here, get back into a groove. You see this lap is much faster than some of the ones I've been doing with all the battling that's been happening. And we don't quite dip back into the 29s, but it's nice to get it back into a groove. There's a yellow flag going up here. Whoa, there's a McLaren. We take to the outside. And fortunately, avoid all of the carnage. Some 3 cars on the inside there that have caught up in all of that. So good evasive manoeuvre there, taking the safest route. And we find ourselves now up into P8. A good handful of positions there. Chasing now down Mr. Murray in his 488 GT3 car, which you don't see very often with the newer version available. Lapped car up the front there, he takes the wide line, let everyone by. 13 minutes to go in this race. And the goal now was just to try and press on and see if we can't put a bit of pressure on this white Ferrari in front. Yeah, I'm starting to get a nice groove to this track, and I'm finding that I'm a little bit more consistent than others while not being completely as fast. So for example, the Ferrari behind, he's starting to put some pressure on. He's definitely a quicker car, but every now and then he'll make a little mistake, open the gap behind, and I'm just trying to be as consistent as possible. Here we are, the white Ferrari. I've got to run on him out of the final turn. We're going to have another go at a move here. Hit the brakes, and once again I've overcooked it a little bit. I slow up on the inside, he's on the outside. Cuts across, and you'll see here on the replay, powers around the outside and completely just lights it up. Cuts in front of my nose. The blue Ferrari gives him a little tap from behind, and somehow we find ourselves all exactly where we were without any real damage. Now coming down into turn 4. Ferrari's coming a little bit hot. It's going to go a bit wide here, and I'm going to take my chance. Up the inside, I'm going to put me on the outside of the next turn. Clear on the left is the call. I move across, it wasn't quite clear on the left. The yellow submarine comes through the middle, He takes a little tap as the white Ferrari rejoins from the spin there, and I find myself out on the gravel again, fortunately pointing straight without big damage to the car. Been very, very fortunate these few races to not take any spins. And yes, we gain a place, we lose a place, but we're straight, we're pointing forward, still in P8, 9 minutes to go. So eventful coming from the back of the grid here. And the hope now was just to see what we can finish from the rest of this race. Playing catch up on this blue Ferrari here. A little bit concerned for the white McLaren behind. He was quick, he was a good qualifier, but he's certainly been a little bit erratic, a little bit inconsistent, so I was going to see where he gets to there. I have a real moment into turn one here, almost lose it. And this is where the white McLaren gets his opportunity to close in behind. Having to start thinking about being defensive now for the last 4 minutes of this race. Once again, coming to turn one, I have a little bit of a moment. The tyres are starting to go from underneath me. And the McLaren now really gets in behind. Missed my mark a little bit at turn 3. We run wide, the McLaren gets another run, and that's enough for him. He's up on the inside. Not really much chance of defending this one here without really tangling up with him. So we more or less let him by down the inside here, trying to make it nice and clean. He's got that BMW behind us as well. Don't want to lose any more places from here with only 2.5 minutes left to go. Let's see if we can follow him. He's good through the last part of that lap. Here we are, 2 minutes to go and a few more laps. He gets up onto that sausage curb, lights it up, and he's up onto the infield there, so we get the place back. Like I said, fast but a bit inconsistent from the white McLaren there. The final 2 laps go off without a hitch for us, and as we come down to finish the race through the final turn, the Ferrari in front has one final moment into that inside barrier. A happy race for us. Patience is king here. Quite happy to come away from the back with that P7. So there we are, my first 2 races and license run in LFM and ACC racing. And while not all positive, there were certainly some things that I can take away from these 2 races. I felt like my pace was strong, but more importantly, I was not making mistakes. And I'm really starting to quickly learn what it takes to get results in these first 10 races that make up the rookie graduation process in LFM. Really looking forward to some of the next races, and if you want to see those races as well, then please subscribe to the channel, and I would really love to know how you think I'm going in these 2 races. As a newbie to ACC, you actually have no idea if you're quick or good until you start doing some of these races. So I'd love to know your thoughts on how you think I'm going in the platform. I really have nothing else to gauge on, so your advice would be super helpful. But if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and as I said, subscribe if you want to see my next races. We'll be dropping those really soon, and I can't wait to see you all in those videos as well. Thanks heaps for watching, everyone. Race hard, stay positive. We'll see you again real soon. Cheers.